So, welcome to Tutorial Tuesday. This is the third Tutorial Tuesday as of yet, and today we're going to be talking about 9 essential tools in painting. And if I'm going to be talking about 9 essential tools in painting, I'm going to be talking about two things actually. First one is about paint consistencies. A lot of people are always asking how thin does your paint need to be, or how thick, or whatever. And the other is not alcohol acid burn. It's not alcohol. It is brush strokes. All right, two things are going to create 9 tools. How do we do that? We'll have a look. We'll have a look. If the things work. Oh, there we go. Paint consistencies. Okay. First of all, I'm going to talk about paint consistencies. And in general, so everything I'm going to be talking to you about is in general, and there are various deviations of this, and you can make your own truth about this, but in general, you could say there are 3 paint consistencies. Right? The very first one is straight out of the pot, and even if it's a very dried out paint, or it's a wetter paint, it's a paint that has not been done anything with. Don't kill my brush strokes, nope. The first one is a thick paint. If you're gonna take your paint out of the paint pot, and that's what you're gonna put on your model, then you got a thick paint. A thick paint is not bad. It's just, you gotta think about it, what does the thick paint do? It dries very quick. But it is already drying actually. And even if you have very old paint which is probably thicker than usual, it's still a thick paint. So you got near hard rock kind of paint until fairly fluid paint. These are all called thick paints. As long as you do not add anything to your paint, it's a thick paint, right? I've seen Duncan Rhodes, yes, the Duncan Rhodes, often painting with thick paint. Watch his videos, you see him dip his brush into the pot, stroke it off on the paper, and then put it on a model. And that's thick paint. Right? So next up is if you put a couple of layers, a couple of drops of water or mediums or whatever in it, and it starts to be much more fluid, it's gonna run off your brush. It's nearly transparent or nearly not transparent, right? Then you got a layer. I will call it a layer. It's somewhere between thick and thin, right? It's a layer. You can do probably mostly everything you do is with this kind of consistency. A couple of drops of water, and you've got your layer. And like I said, it's either a stroke that is nearly covering in one stroke, which you do not want if you're doing a normal basic paint. Hello Pearl Jam, welcome. Thank you for joining me. So it's nearly covering, so you got to put 2 thin coats in. There's Duncan Rhodes again. Then that's your layer paint. Or you could go a bit thinner, and then you might need 3 or 4 layers to get that coverage, but it would be thinner, and that's a good layer consistency. And then by adding even more water, you're going to go to a thin consistency. You can see it be transparent, you can see your palette underneath it, you can see the color of your model that's underneath it. As soon as it's starting to get more transparent, you're traveling into the thin category. And even here you've got bordering to a layer consistency, right? So if you're hardly thinning it even a bit more, you'll still see the borders of what you're painting, until you go so thin that it's actually water that's been looking at paint. Right? That's way too thin in most cases, but that's a consistency in the range of thin, right? So you got 3 consistencies: thick, layer, thin, and in each You've got a wide range of how thick or how thin you can get. And no, I'm not gonna tell you that your paint should be milk. That's complete and utter bullcrap. Who has ever painted with milk? Nobody, right? I don't even know what the consistency of milk is. I just can see that I cannot see through milk, but I cannot see through yogurt either. And I'm not thinking that yogurt is a good consistency, right? Okay, so stop talking about milk consistencies. That's bullshit. Only for airbrushing. There you go. Obviously, for airbrushing, all of this, I'm not talking about airbrushing. Exactly, nerd. Yeah, chocolate milk, obviously. The hot kind, right? Okay, we got the 3 paint consistencies that you're painting with. The second one, that layer kind of consistency, is what you're painting the most part of your model with, right? I'd say about 80% of your model, 80% of your paint is probably going to be that layer consistency. There you go. Yeah. Okay, we're going to go to the second part, the brush strokes. And even in brush strokes, you've got 3 general categories. And this is a bit hard to just say it, and I should actually show it to you. I can do it afterwards, but not during the presentation. But take it from me on my word, right? All right, here we go. The first one is the pull stroke. And the pull stroke is the most used brush stroke you got. So basically, you got your brush in your hand, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna move it towards the end of your brush. So this is a pull stroke. This is a pull stroke. Even holding it away from you and drawing it out away from you, if you're going in the direction of the end of the brush, you're making a pull stroke, right? Most of it is being done like this: stroke, 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 stroke. Either thinly or with a bigger brush, and you're just stroking it. Have you seen a painter? Stroke, stroke. These are all strokes, pull strokes. 99% of what you're doing is should be a pull stroke. I know painters, and I've been one myself, that have been using another stroke for 99% of the time, and it showed until I learned how to do a proper pull stroke. Right, pull strokes are good. But luckily we got 2 others. There we go. The side stroke. This is a hard one because it's requiring some skill, some good feel in the brush. But actually, what you're gonna do is paint with the side of it or sideways. So you're going this way. You could even go in a bit of a circular motion this way. And the hard part here is that you need to control it. It's hard to control because these are your bristles, right? And if you got a good tip, they're like this. But as soon as you start to move sideways, the upper bristles will part ways and it's gonna fan out. And that's gonna break up your perfect stroke unless you know how to use it, right? And there are various ways of using the side stroke. I'll talk to you about that in a second. And the last one is the push stroke. Yeah, teach you stream, Mikey. You're being late. You should know this. Tutorial Tuesday on Tuesday. Anyway, the push stroke. And the push stroke is exactly what it says. It's about pushing it, which is hard because it's gonna fuck up your bristles, right? Because as soon as you start a push, you're gonna push all the bristles out of away from each other, and if you're being rude, you're gonna break them, you're gonna mess them up, you're gonna break your brush. But that might not be a bad thing, right? So pull, move towards the end, the side brush, moving it sideways, and the push brush, which also includes stabbing. Stabbing is a push stroke, or even twist and turns. Tardy, there we go. Yeah, off to the principal's office. You'll have to, well, whatever. Alright, so we've got 3 brush strokes, pull, side, push. We've got 3 paint consistencies, thick, layer, and thin. 3 times 3 makes 9, which makes 9 essential tools. I've got to move that essential tools out of the way. So here we go. Every pull and every consistency of paint can be combined with each other to create these 9 squares, these 9 tools. But you got to think about, what tool do I need, right? Not everything can be used for everything. You cannot just say, oh, okay, I'm gonna paint up this model, and well, Pascal said I can do everything, so I'm gonna take a big brush, I'm gonna push a thin color into my model. That's not how it works. Right, I'm gonna show you some examples of how to use these strokes with these paint consistencies, and instantly you're gonna see, oh yeah, actually I already know a lot of these tools. And I'm gonna give some examples, but you might find that you'll be using other techniques or other areas or other whatever on certain combinations. Add it to your list, right? Don't try to prove me otherwise that, oh, it's not true, or this should be there. Just add it to your toolbox. All right, here we go. Not a problem, Mikey. Yeah, definitely will be up later, right? Okay, here we go. First off, we're gonna do a pull stroke towards the end, so nice, or like this, right? With a thick consistency, and we can do this for priming. Yeah, if you got like a primer color, and you're gonna do pull strokes on with a thick paint, and it doesn't even need to be a primer color, just a thick paint from your bottle. Take pure black, you put it on a plastic or even a metal mini, sometimes it sticks, and you can do pull strokes and you can cover it all up. It doesn't need to be nice. Take a big brush, even bigger than this one. This is a number 2, I guess. Yeah, number 2. It could be an old brush, but you can do pull strokes and you can fill the entire model with it. Right, this is the pull with a thick paint. An example, right? If we're going to go to layers, we can do base coating. And base coating is different from priming, because priming is just making sure that the rest of my paint sticks, and base coat is putting on the first color, the primary color of a part, right? Base coating, layering, even. It's a form of blending. Actually, 80% of everything you do is a pull stroke with a layer consistency. 80%, maybe even 90%, I don't know. But actually, most of the things you're doing here. So that leaves us with 8 tools that you're using 20% of the time. Right? Okay, let's go continue. A thin paint with pull strokes. You take a thin paint to do free hands, because if you're going to do free hands and you need the point to be very sharp and precise all of the time, thinning your paint a bit more makes it flow easier, right? And if it flows easier, you can do much more intricate forms, but don't make it too flowy, because it's going to flow like a wash, right? You can do pin wash. If you don't know what pin washing is taking a very thin, very liquid kind of paint, and just, you can do it with a pin even, and put a drop exactly in the between a ridge of anything, right? It's often used with vehicles and such, and then the capillary workings will just slide it down the entire ridge. Pin washing, thin paint, pulling. It's actually a pull. Even if you're doing a dot, it's a pull. Things like glazing. Well, nerd, you're learning now, right? Things like glazing. If you're trying to create a bit of blush on cheeks, you can do glazing with this in pull strokes or even in small dots or stripes. All right. Okay. We're going to go to the side. So this actually all of this should be fairly easy, right? Probably everybody done something like this. Now we're going to go to the side. Thick paint, texture maybe. If you got a thick paint, you're going to do it like this. When the bristles are starting to come out, that's going to leave roughness, a random roughness. That could be used for a texture. Could be very cool. It's very hard to control. What I actually forgot to put in here, the one thing most people use a side stroke with a thick paint is edge highlighting. You got a thick paint because you don't want it to be too runny, and you got your edge and you're just running it alongside that edge and you're using the side of your brush. Right, so put it in there in your notepad, edge lining. Then we're going to go to a layer kind of consistency with your side stroke, and that's for covering large areas at once. If you like a nice flow over of a color and you don't want to see all the stripes you're doing with the pull, you could even do, if you're dexterous enough, what's the word? And you can do a nice side stroke, and you got the width, the length of the brush as an area to paint. Right? And then with a thin, and this is what I use a lot for, you can do glazing again. I put it in here twice. I glaze a lot with side strokes. You can also do a lot of wet blending. So if you're gonna mix it in, you're gonna use a feathering like this, right? A side stroking kind of ability. Hey Mark. Lastly, the push strokes. Now this is the one that's really hard to grasp, and there's even one that it's got me baffled what to use it for, but there is a use for it and I'm sure of it. And that's a push stroke, and the first one with a thick layer is dry brushing. But here's the thing, a lot of people dry brush wrong. Hey, ground affected. Yeah, go in the back, away. A lot of people, it's not wrong dry brushing. A lot of people dry brush just, and that's actually a stroke, right? You take a dry paint, wipe off excess. It's mostly dry on the brush, and then you're going from top to down. And this is a stroke, a pull stroke kind of dry brushing. But you also got a kind of dry brushing that's pushing it on, keeping it on, and then in a circular pushing motion, push, you can create a really nice soft texture on anything. I'll show it after the presentation, right? So this is cool. Dry brushing, thick paint, push strokes. It's actually push and twists, right? It's also good for painting mud. If you got some mud stuffs from weathering companies and such, and you take a big bristle and just dab it, right? So that's where the dabbing comes from. Dab it on, and then you get the texture of all the splatter and such. All right. We're gonna do the push stroke with a layer. You can do this to use to create a quick base coat or even a quick priming. And this is what I do sometimes if I'm too lazy to break out the airbrush, or even a rattle can if I got one. I'm just going to take a big brush, and then with a big brush I really mean like a big brush, right? And I'm going to douse it into my paint. It's a layer paint. It could be a bit on the thick side, but still a layer paint. And I'm just dabbing all over the model. and the fluidity of it is gonna equalize it. If I put it on, you'll see the texture of the bristles, but the fluidity is gonna equalize it, and then afterwards, in like 30 seconds, I can cover a complete model, do it again, I've got a really nice coverage. Freaking fast, right? So this pushing, that stabbing actually with a layer is a good way to use for a quick base coat. And lastly, the pushing with a thin paint. Thinning a thin paint that's going to be pushed. And actually, this is the one. Oh, I actually thought about it. Is what you do a lot with washes. Yes, you can wash with a pull stroke again, obviously, but you can also just slab it on. This is a push stroke. So the push stroke is actually really aggressive kind of stroke, and with a wash you can just dab it, just ram it into areas that has deep crevasses and such. Oh, thank you very much, Ground Affected. Oh, thank you for the host. There you go. Yeah, well, it's growing. We've got 15 right now, and I started off with 5 probably. I don't know. Would the filter be the same as a glaze? Yes. That's a lot of people say, well, it will filter it into a color. I say that we glaze it. It's the same thing. Right. Take these 9 to heart. Try to think of everything that you do as you are doing it. What kind of stroke am I using now, and what kind of consistency I'm using in my paint, and think of this, and can you make this list even bigger and larger for yourself? That would be cool. And this is not about having that list be as large as possible. It's about being aware what you're doing. And as soon as you're aware of this, and here's the trick, this is what you're about to learn. You're gonna learn what the effect is of a pull stroke on your work, and what the effect is of a side stroke and a push stroke. And you're gonna perfect your hand-eye coordination, your motoric skills on those pull and side and push strokes, because you're gonna be much more aware of what it is and what it does, and you're gonna perfect that. And you're gonna be thinking about your paint consistencies, and you're gonna experiment with them and see how it feels. Don't think in 1 drop of paint and 2 drops of water, because the one paint in this bottle does not have the same thickness as the paint in another bottle, and which may need a bit more water to make it as fluid as possible, right? So you're gonna be feeling it. And I've often tried to explain it, but the only way I can explain it is by experiencing it. I can feel, as soon as I put my brush into a paint, I can feel if it's thick or thin enough, right? And that's fingertip. This is experience. You need to do this a lot. Hey, FX being late there. The difference between the two is negligible. Yeah, indeed. So you're going to be thinking about your consistencies, and you're going to test them out and what does work better. And as soon as you're thinking, well, I'm trying this technique and it's being runny, or it's not covering enough, then you can now think out of it as, wait a minute, my paint is too thin. It needs to be thicker. It needs to be a layer consistency. As soon as it's too thin, the only way to get it thicker is to let it dry. Easy as that. Which is going to be hard if you put in some retarder medium in it. You're going to be waiting a long time. Right? Yes, Ground Affected. It's crazy how it becomes a second nature. You've only been doing 8 months or so already. You developed a very specific way to do each technique. There you go. And that's why it is. Right? Recap. You got 3 brush strokes, which is the pull stroke, which is probably 80% of what you're using, which is a stroke towards the end of of the brush. And this is the fun thing. People say, okay, this, right? Let me show you. This is a one stroke, and this is a stroke, and this is, no, these are all the same strokes. They're all going to the end of the stroke, right? The end of the brush. Pull strokes, side strokes. You're using the side, or even in a half semi-circle wave motion. And you got the push, or the stabs, or the dabs, or the jabs, or the twists and turns motions. Alright. Then you got 3 paint consistencies. Straight out of the pot, it's called thick. And the drier it is, well, the thicker it is, obviously. Play with it. And you got your layer consistencies, which is the kind of paint you want to paint with 80% of the time. And then you got your thin paints, which is so watered down that you're going to start to see transparency in it. You're going to see what's underneath. The pigment is spreading so far that you can see through the pigment, in between the pigment, you can see underneath it. Take all these 3, you create 9 tools, which you can use in your painting, and don't try to limit yourself to only 1 or 2. Questions? I'm gonna check the chat here. Your master's atrophied. Sorry, man. Yeah. Filter is more like dirty paint water, in your opinion. Well, in your opinion, my glazes are dirty paint water as well. Or if my paint water is dirty, I need to filter it. The ground effector says you glaze for days with paint so thin it makes no change in saturation until the 5th layer. Yeah, that's the way I've learned about it. It gives you the best control, because you can stop whenever you want, and you can go a bit too far maybe and still won't matter. But to make it easier for yourself, try to be a bit thicker paint, right? A bit more contrast, a bit more pigment in there, so it goes quicker. So you don't need 50 layers, just 25. Dirty paint water gets you a wash that only builds up at the details. Wrong. In many ways, I can wash with a thin paint, and I can glaze with a thin paint. It's just the way you're using the thin paint makes it different. Because when I do a wash, I'm gonna fill my brush full with that wash and let it slather all over, because then the amount of fluid is gonna make it flow to where I want it to. But when I'm glazing, I don't want it to flow, so I'm gonna use a damp brush, damp with my paint. And when I do a stroke, it's gonna stay there. Right? It's so thin, it's gonna stay there. It's not gonna flow away. It's just gonna be there, but it's just slightly giving a bit more color to to what I'm using underneath. All right. Glazes are a bit thicker. No, it doesn't need to be. The thicker your glazes, the quicker you can get, but the less room you've got for error. Will I repeat the tutorial? Yeah, sure. Just watch the video on YouTube later on. There we go. You're begging for a timeout. Fight by the... Yeah. There you go. Go fight in the bike racks. Nerd is gonna take your gambles. He's gonna take your money for it. You love glazing, definitely, man. You could spend hours slowly making that highlight small, and yeah, definitely. Hey Snick, you're back. And Leon says it's clear. Awesome. So 9 tools. These 9 tools are essential. I've been taught them to me by, I believe it was Tommy Soul, and I've since experimented with it, and I've done my thing with this, because he never made this raster, this table like this, and the 9 squares and whatnot. but I did, right? I'm going to show you how to make push strokes. I'm going to take a color. Let's say I've got some walnut over here. Straight out of the pot, not on my wet palette. As soon as you put paint on your wet palette, there's gonna be seeping water through the paper, adding to your paint, instantly making it thinner, to much more towards that layer, right? So keep in mind that if you want to keep it thick, don't put it on a wet palette. This is the one thing that you cannot advocate. A wet palette is better than a dry palette. No, use both. They're both tools, right? Even using good paints, yeah, no problem, man. Right, you've been biking 10 kilometers already. All right, so gonna dab my paint, dab my brush in the paint. This is way too much paint already. I'm gonna put it away. You know all how this works, right? And, actually, this is as far as most people will go. See, it's almost dry. I'm gonna go even farther because there's still paint in there. Right, need to remove it nearly all. There's still so much in there. Look at that. All right. Maybe even too thick. Right, now here's the push and twist motion. So I'm gonna push, I'm gonna turn, and I'm gonna twist it. And apply some soft pressure. This is gonna take a lot longer than your ordinary dry brushing, obviously. You can already see something happening. And you can see that obviously by going pushing thinner, pushing lighter, or going over the same spot again and again and again, you can create light and dark. Alright, so there you go. Do you see that grain? Do you see that texture? It's really fine, really gentle. If you take cardboard like this, which you would probably usually paint full and then it's flat. But if you do this, then you got this drywall look. You can definitely use this as a wall, and you got a drywall look. But yeah, this is gonna take ages if you want to do it like this. But it's so nice. Right? This is completely different than this. That's what you do if you're gonna do this kind of stuff. Then you're gonna take a lot more paint, leave a lot more, and make a bush, like a pull stroke. Right? You do things like that. Obviously not this color. For weathering even, a filbert brush. You can do it with any kind of brush that you like. I'm taking this kind of brush. I can use a rounded brush. This is a nice one I've used a lot. It's a short bristle, really sturdy. Sturdy, is that the word? I can do it. Oh, look at that. That's nice. Again, it's about control here. Like Ground Effect said with his glazing, you can do so thin glazing that you need 50 layers to see anything happen, but it's giving you ultimate control. The same applies here. If you're going to do thin, you got ultimate control to go as far as you like. Look at that. That's awesome. That's awesome. And if you can do this, messing it up. If you can do this on a much more textured kind of thing, You can definitely make a really nice, really soft edging. If you look at this here, the texture on that stone, I hope you can see this. The texture on that stone is a combination, firstly of the push and twist kind of thing, and in the end, with some pure white, just trying to grab those edges on the rims. And that's pull stroke dry brushing. Right.